Hey, besties, welcome back to My Chronically Cozy Life and my podcast series, Cozy Chats, where we are talking about building a life and a business with chronic illness and a neurodivergent brain. My name is Randy, and today's guest is Kate Mageau. She's a therapist and author, and she's here to share her story with chronic illness and neurodivergence and writing her book. Kate, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you, Randy. I'm really excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, oh my gosh, and we had some difficulties. There were some cancellations and rescheduling, but isn't that just our lives, hey?
Oh, yes,
I mean, if it
absolutely.
went perfectly the first time, would we even be chronically ill and neurodivergent people?
Exactly,
Or
exactly.
entrepreneurs, really?
Right. We give each other grace and compassion, and we
Yeah.
just get on with it. Yeah.
100% why I've chosen to work with the people that I do because nobody else understands, right? You just can't. And I can't hold it against them because you just can't.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us a bit about you, your story, and your book.
Yeah. So my book, Rose Colored Glasses. I'm so proud of
Oh,
it. It
so
just came out
pretty.
last week. Oh,
Oh, really? That's so
Eh,
exciting.
yes, 1 week ago today it came out.
Yay.
Um,
So
and I
pretty.
worked on this, thank you, for 10 years. I worked on this project. It's been a
That's
long
a
time.
lot.
Yeah, so a little summary. In 2014, I left my ex-husband. I recognized he was abusive and it was a domestic violence marriage, and so I left
Mm.
him. And then I went to New Beginnings, which is a domestic violence advocacy program. I got support at the support group. I learned all about the different dynamics of what happens. I learned that 1 in 3 people experience this. Yes. Yeah. I went to
Oh my God.
therapy. I did a lot of learning and healing and growing, and my therapist said, "Well, have you gotten in touch with your anger?" And I was like, "Well, I don't have anger. No, I'm not angry," because I had learned to suppress it for my safety in the marriage.
Mm.
And so she said, "Watch the movie Inside Out." And so I watched Inside Out.
Yeah.
I watched Inside Out and cried and got in touch with my anger. And once I really did feel that anger, I was like, 1 in 3 people experience this? Are you kidding me? And we don't learn about
Yeah.
it? I learned about gaslighting right, just before I left. My sister said, "Oh, that's gaslighting." And I
Mm.
was like, What's gaslighting?" I
Yeah.
didn't know about it, right? We weren't talking about things then, and we talk about it now, but there's so many different components to how people control people to how you stay in a relationship. So I started writing my story so I could help people, and took about 8 years for the first writing of it, and then I decided to become a therapist. And then I specialized in domestic violence because that was, the whole thing. I was like, how do I help people
Yeah.
with this? Learning more and more about it. So my book is the story of what happened in the relationship. And then after every chapter, I explain the psychological mechanisms of what was really happening.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So you
That's a
have
clever way to do it.
thank
I
you.
like that.
Yeah. So you're learning as well as experiencing the emotions through the book. So people read it really fast. People say that it reads like an adventure story. But then you're also getting healing through it.
Which, got any good adventure story I've read has included a little bit of healing in it, really.
Yeah, and a little
Um,
toxicity.
Absolutely. What's a good story without the toxic male character, right? I mean,
Right.
1 in 3? Are you kidding me? What must that make the number of so if it's 1 in 3 women experiencing this, what is the number of men doing this? That's insane. And I don't want to come off as a man hater, but Men.
Or as a man hater, yeah.
I'm assuming that's not like the numbers, like including like domestic violence against men, because like we admit it happens for surezies, it's totally out there, but like I'm certain the numbers are not there for.
So, yeah, more recent studies show 1 in 9 for men, but I will say that
That's way more than it should be too.
yeah,
That's insane.
and I actually think that that number is lower. And actually, you will see some studies will say 1 in 4 for people, 1 in 4 for women. Some will say 1 in 3. It just depends on
Yeah,
like
I
what
guess it
study you
really
read.
depends on who's doing the study and what they're comparing to and all of that for sure.
Right, and it depends on who's coming forward. So I actually think the 1 in
Yeah.
9 men ratio is probably way lower than it actually is.
Yeah.
Because these numbers are typically pulled from the domestic violence advocacy organizations.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so many people, so many organizations talk about it as gender-based violence. And I hate that so much because when you
Yeah.
say, oh, it's gender-based violence, then it assumes that it's like heterosexual relationships, women to men. And that's
Yeah.
just not actually the case. Like
Yeah,
I
I mean,
work
if
with
they were
people
gonna
of
get to
all
the
genders.
numbers, yeah. Yeah, if you were gonna look
Yeah.
into the numbers, like, of all the specifics, like, straight violence against women, straight violence against men, gay violence, like, if you were to, like, break it all down, like, I'm sure the numbers would be a lot more revealing, but
They are,
those
and then you add
numbers in themselves
neurodivergence.
are oh my gosh, yes. I don't wanna know that statistic. Nope.
So
Do
I
I?
only I
It's gonna
only
make me
have this.
sad.
I know. I only have it for ADHD. I don't have a stat on autism, but I imagine that's even higher.
Can only
But for
imagine, yeah.
ADHD, it's 2.5 times higher than a non-ADHD person.
Oh, that kills.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, I'm so certain that the fact that so many of us are, whether by choice or by force, kind of stuck at home and, like, trying to work from home and doing our things at home, and we're always in this, like, space, um, and, like,
Yes.
usually very cut off from a lot of other people because of it. I'm certain that that plays huge roles into all of it.
Absolutely. We saw the numbers grow exponentially after COVID because
Um
everybody was at home.
Totally tell me if this is like a too personal question or you don't want to answer or whatever. Do you feel like your chronic illness and neurodivergent played roles into it at all, or like made it more difficult for you to act on it or see it?
Yes, definitely. So this took like first I realized I was in a domestic violence survivor, and then like did all the work on that. And then once I finished unpacking all of that, I was like, "Oh, I'm ADHD." Like
Mm.
first of all didn't know, and
Oh
now
yeah.
that I have that information, so now that's my two specialties in my work as a therapist is toxic relationships and ADHD and autism and
Mm-hmm.
ADHD. Um, but yeah, so now, so when I got to that point, I started doing a lot more research on this, and so there's a lot of gifts that come with being ADHD, and I'm just going to speak
Mm-hmm.
directly to that part because that's where I have the
Yeah.
statistics and um but having a higher sense of empathy. So
Mm.
seeing somebody that's been hurt before and saying, "Oh, I'll hear your story and I want to be there for you." And then when that person hurts you saying, "Well, I understand why they did that, so then it's okay." And it's not okay.
Mhm.
It's not okay. Just because we can understand why something happened does not mean that
Yeah.
that makes it okay.
That makes
Um,
sense, yeah. I've noticed that, like, I mean, my relationship is amazing, I love my husband, he is fantastic, but I've noticed that in, like, little things, like, because I understand, like, we're both neurodivergent people, so because I understand, like, why he's doing something, sometimes I'll, like, wanna let it go, and then I'm like, "Whoa, wait, actually, that kind of annoyed me, and we need to talk about it." And then his
right, right.
neurodivergent self pulls away from wanting to talk about it, and it's a whole fun game, but from there,
100%.
good times,
But
yeah. But no, I
that's
see
so
how that happens,
real.
yeah. Yeah.
You can hold space for both. And then another
Yeah.
aspect is the love bombing. So that part of the
Mm.
relationship that, you know, it can look like so many different ways, but a lot of times what it looks like is constant communication. Like, I just want to text you. I'm so excited. I have so much. I want to like share my whole life with you.
Oh,
We're always going
yeah.
to be in contact, right? Which that love bombing really then becomes codependency. But when the love bombing is happening, your brain gets flooded with oxytocin, the love hormone. And oxytocin has a receptor that turns on dopamine, which the ADHD people love.
I
So
do
we
love that.
see yeah. So we meet a new person, we get so
Oh my gosh, he
excited, we
does
get
give me so much dopamine too. Yeah. I can see how
yeah.
that's a thing.
Yeah. So when you think about like starting a new relationship and those times where it's like, oh, it's this whirlwind, exciting relationship, and your brain is filled with love
Mhm.
and joy, oxytocin and dopamine. And
Yeah.
so we can be more prone to like be in that. And then the like flip side of that is that neurodivergent people also really struggle with object permanence. So like I put
Mm.
this thing here and it's in a closet and oh my god, I forgot that sweater existed. Like where
Yeah.
okay. So we forget about things we don't see. And that also happens with people. So when we have love bombing and oxytocin and dopamine and we're so into this one person, it's really easy to forget about the other
Mm.
people in our lives.
Yeah. And
And so
that's
then
more
we're isolated.
isolating and you make it yeah. And as soon as someone's
Mhm.
isolated, like, that is, like, the key ingredient in everything bad, like, I
Yeah.
definitely noticed myself starting to isolate as I started working for myself, like, and just being at home all the time and stuff like that, and I realized really quickly I needed to start, like, even if it's virtually, reaching out and talking to people more because that's not good for anybody, and, like, I'm a huge introvert, like, I like my alone time. I don't
Yeah.
feel lonely, and I definitely deal with, like, that object permanence when it comes to people too, so yeah, no, I can see how all of those things and I like that you started that with, like, these are our gifts. Those
Yeah.
are and I mean, like, object permanence, I don't know, sometimes it's a gift,
Uh,
sometimes it's
no, that
not
maybe
so
that one's
much.
not a
But,
I
yeah,
wouldn't
but, like, the
call that
other
one.
ones definitely are, like, they're gifts and, like but at the same time, I can see how, like, with the wrong ingredients mixed in, like, that can really turn badly. And
Yeah.
that's scary. That's hard. And so
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
into, you got help, you got out of that relationship, you got help. Who did you say you went through?
Oh, so it's called New Beginnings is the one that I went to personally, but it's a domestic violence at
Where are you?
in Seattle,
Oh,
Washington.
okay, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Where are you?
I'm in Canada, BC. I'm just above you.
Oh, okay. Hello,
Yeah.
neighbor.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, New Beginnings.
Yeah, so it's a domestic violence advocacy support group.
Okay.
So in the United States, I don't know about the Canadian resources as much, I'm sorry, but in the United
That's why
States,
I had to ask because we always come to this
yeah,
point where there's like, "Oh, there's the difference in our resources." So I need to know where you are so our
yes,
viewers know
yes.
what we're talking about. So these are American resources.
Yeah, so the National Domestic Violence Hotline is for United States National. And they website, a phone number, you can chat with them on the website, you can text them. On their website, you can also find a ton of resources, and one of those being one of their web pages is to find your local resource. So each
Oh,
resource
cool.
is, at least in the United States, it's funded
Yeah.
by local taxes. So because I'm in Seattle, was in Seattle at the time, like that was my spot. But if you
Mhm.
lived in a different city nearby, then you would have a different agency you go to.
Yeah.
But you can start getting help there. And I imagine if a Canadian called them, they would still help you like find your Canadian
If
resource.
you can share some of these links with me, I'll drop them in like all the descriptions below and stuff like that and I will go and find our Canadian links as well to match it.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can do that.
Yeah. So, okay. So you got in with them, and what was that experience like going through all of that?
Um, oh, So it was a
Again, if you
lot.
don't want to say,
No, no, no,
by all
no.
means.
I'm an open book. Literally, I am
Literally
an
an
open
open
book.
book.
Here's the whole story. Yes. So what was that like? They will match you up with an advocacy specialist. So somebody
That's
that
great.
their job is to have like one-on-one conversations with you to help you make a safety plan so you can safely leave, to help you process all of the things that are happening. They'll set you up with a therapist, although like the wait list is pretty long.
Oh, I bet.
Um, and then they also have childcare, they have shelter, like whatever you need. They
Good.
have resources for food. And um ADHD brain got scattered. It had um
It happens.
and then they have these support groups, and a lot
Oh,
of the agencies have all of these things. I At the support group they said, here's the different concepts of what happens. This is what the power and control wheel is. This is what the cycle of violence is. These are the kinds of common things that you can learn about.
sure. It makes you forget yourself and like who you are and what you have. And
100%.
yeah, I can see how something like that, you need to be reminded, and being reminded of those things and having those things like explained to you logically, like this is what's happening. Like even I found when I started understanding gaslighting more in like the medical trauma side of things, so that we all know and understand, unfortunately. Um Literally a
Yeah.
topic that's come up in every one of these podcasts. It's crazy. But even like as you started understanding like the concept of gaslighting, and I saw this happen like across the internet too, because like that's where it was really being talked about, was like everybody was talking about it on TikTok, and everybody started understanding it and being like, whoa, wait a minute. Is that what's happening here? Is that how this is going? And we were all like, to different degrees, obviously, able to like step back and say, we're not cool with this. And like, you can see a shift in the way people are taking back that agency. And just like
Mm-hmm.
from that understanding of it, that like knowledge is power. Knowledge is
Yes.
power. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
so much, right? Like just the more we
Yes.
know. And that's like, that's one of the big reasons I'm a huge supporter of like self-diagnosis, because like
Yeah.
self-diagnosis just means that you are educating yourself on something about yourself. And knowledge is power. And the more you know about the way your brain and your body works, the more you can do about these things and the more you can adapt to them and change your life. And that's, it's like, it's
Yes.
magical, right?
Yes. Yes. Thank you
Oh,
for
yes.
like sharing that so eloquently and like with the relational way, because that is how neurodivergent brains learn, is through being able to understand through our own stories.
Oh my gosh, again,
Um
like the only reason I can like have these conversations with people is because like anybody else would have been like, why are you talking about your own thing now? Like, whereas you see, like, because we've got the neurodivergent like matching brains there, like that is how we communicate. We
yes.
need to I
Yes.
love that. I love those
Yes.
communication like moments where I'm just like, oh, this person gets it. That's my whole reason
Yes.
for creating this podcast and my like my creators club and everything, like the community. Like I just needed people around me that just get it, and it's so
Mhm.
important. So, okay,
Yeah.
so you got out, you went through the process of learning and discovering the things, and that took you to becoming a therapist. What was that
Yes.
like? How tell let's talk about that journey.
Well, I applied to graduate school, and actually, just real quick, I really want to highlight what you said on knowledge is power and empowerment, because that really is the key. And that really is a big part of why
Mm.
I've created all these resources. So, I have my book. I also have a workbook if you prefer to learn that
Ooh,
way. And I also have an online course. So whatever way you want to learn, and when you
that's
learn,
smart.
you reduce your shame, you understand what happened, you're not constantly cycling through like trying
Yes.
to make sense of it.
Yeah.
It's so much the key to healing and to power empowerment. Yes. So in 2018, I started applying for graduate schools, and I just applied to 2 and I didn't get in because they're very competitive. And so in 2019, I said, well, I am applying to 10 programs. I'm going to get in. So I got in and I started in 2020.
Good
And
timing.
yeah, great timing. I went from living in Seattle and going to the Capitol Hill organized protest where the city had taken over a park and created like community. Um, it was a month and a half long of protests every day in the summer with mutual aid and community support. And it was so beautiful. And that's what I did all summer of 2020. And
Amazing.
then I moved to Florida and started graduate school. It was so weird.
How was Florida in 2020?
Oh my goodness. It was like you were shamed for wearing a mask. Like it
Oh,
was insane. But graduate school was great and really hard.
that's
Graduate
good.
school is very, very
I bet.
hard.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, well, I need to work for myself. So I'm going to move back home to Seattle and start my practice. And so that's what I've been doing the last 3 years.
That's amazing. And I mean, like, I can imagine it's not hard to start a practice because we need this. Like, these are supports that we
Um,
need. Yeah? Yes and no? How was it? How was it starting the practice? It seems like a thing that like would be called for, but
it's definitely hard.
yeah,
Just because there's a need for people have a need for things does not mean that they're necessarily going to find you immediately.
that's
Now,
true.
when I did start out saying I would want to work with domestic violence people, survivors, I did get a lot of people pretty quickly, but there's like all the
Again,
business and all the
sad.
entrepreneur stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I realized too, like, I also want to work with neurodivergent people. And I also, from the beginning, offered gender affirming letters, which is a thing. I don't know if you need it in Canada, but in the United States, a lot of states and insurance companies require that people see 1 or 2 therapists to get a like approval basically to say if they want hormones or surgery, which is just such bullshit. Sorry if
Yeah,
can I
you
swear on
definitely
here?
couldn't. Yeah, no, absolutely. We are family-ish friendly. Depending on your family, I guess. um, yeah, no, I would be horrible at that. Anybody be coming to me, they'd be like, "Hey, I feel this way," and I'd be like, "Yes, you do." Like, you tell me
Uh-huh.
you do. Yes, you do. Like, what? I don't have a follow-up question. You
Yeah.
told me you feel that way. Yes, you do. And that's been
um
my go-to approach for most things. So I shouldn't be trusted.
yeah.
I mean, I should be trusted in that job. We should definitely trust more people like that in that job, for sure.
So, yeah, without like saying too much, I just try and make it a quick and easy process for everybody.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I ask the questions that need to be asked to complete the form. I will say that. I'm just gonna
Yep.
leave it there
Good.
and agree with you. Um,
Yeah, no, I mean,
yes.
and isn't it crazy like how you get into working with neurodivergent people? Like that is going to be the like next step is you're going to see people coming in for different kind of gender affirming care for sure. Like that's going to be connected.
It's so connected between toxic relationships and then started getting more ADHD people and then gender affirming care people and it just we're all together here basically.
Which makes me so sad because of what you start with in the like toxic relationship side of things. But I'm so
Yeah.
glad that like they can come together and find places. And like, isn't that what it should be all about? Is us coming together and like again, that's why I started all of this. It's just when
Yeah.
we come together and we can support each other and we can educate each other, we can help and we can grow and we can do amazing things. And secretly, the
Yes.
autistic people are going to take over the world, and that's exactly what they're afraid of. Ha ha ha.
I
That is
mean,
that actually is the ultimate goal. Shh, don't tell them we are gonna take over the world. They're just never gonna see it coming because their pattern recognition is horrible.
right? Right.
They'll
Pattern
never see it.
recognition is so key.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to mention something that like yeah, we like our ADHD brains are, are all the things. But I wanted to just go back to something you had talked about what or called attention to was um that we tend to lose ourselves in abusive or toxic relationships.
Mm.
And so I wanted to speak a little bit more on that because it's really
Yeah,
important.
please do.
Um, so that is by the design of the abuser. So for an abuser to have power and control, they first come in with like the love bombing and they create this codependency where the lives are so enmeshed. And then as the abuser tries to take more and more power or have more control over the other person, it becomes that all of the choices are made that by them and they have created like these are our things we like to do. This is what we are interested in. This is how we spend our time together. I need you to do the chores, but that's like very manipulative and how that happens. And basically they make it the abuser makes it so the lives of both the people is wrapped around them.
Mhm.
And that's how the survivor will stay in the relationship. Like there's many reasons why, but that's one way is that your whole life becomes them. And so you forget who you are.
Yeah.
And also another layer to that process is um the emotional abuse that takes away the person's self-esteem to say, okay, I'll make my life about you. Right? That's another
Mhm.
part of that process. And so when you leave, you don't have a self-esteem, you don't know who you are, you don't know
Yeah.
what you're interested in. And so there can be a lot of people who are neurodivergent and in these relationships and like not have the mental resources, like because their mental resources are going to the other person
Mhm.
to learn about their own brain or to like reach
Mhm.
out to other people or to get the support because they're just so wrapped up into that life. So it's so
Yeah.
important to like keep learning and keep connecting.
Yeah. 100%. Like, I feel like, I mean, if I wasn't supported, there's no way I could know what I know now about myself. Like, you just wouldn't have the space to explore it if I felt like I had to be taking care of the everything else that I know I have somebody for. There's no
Yeah.
way. There's no way I could ever explore all of those things and to have really found, who I am and the passions that I have. For sure.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, like, I mean, the psychology of it all is insane, like, there's part of me, like, like, logical autistic part of me that just wants to be like, the psychology of it's insane, like, why would anybody do that? And then, like, I see it happen in real time, I'm like, "Oh, okay, no, yeah, it makes sense." That's like, I can see how that happens and how people get sucked into these things and how they feel like they can't leave and how those things that everyone's like, "Oh, I can't believe she did that." Like, I can see how that happens, but, like, there is, like, a logical part of me that just wants to be like, "No, that's not."
Like,
My
but
brain's
why?
conflicted with you, but why? But why does that work? Why does this work for people? Like, how can they do this over and over again? But it makes sense that they do when you, like, enmesh yourself into somebody's life and you get so connected, it's really becomes a thing.
Yeah, and that is explained so clearly in my book. Like, you would understand you'd be like, "Oh, I see it all now." But a lot of it is the emotional abuse, breaking down the self-esteem to,
Mhm.
think about being with someone else, to think about leaving, to think about anything different. A lot of it is the isolation, so then you aren't as tapped
Mm-mm.
into your other resources, other friends and family and support people. Um, there's oftentimes financial abuse is a factor. Like if you don't have the means to get away, which the domestic violence organizations do like support people with it.
Mhm.
So money should not be a factor, but of course it
It
is.
is, yeah.
And then if there's children involved, then people are much more likely. And then there's like even like there, I mean, there's all sorts of types of abuse, but I think one of the worst kinds is the kinds where maybe where it's using their power and privilege in a way that is affecting like systematically. So, like
Mm.
someone holding over immigration status or HIV status or gender or sexuality identity status, right? There's so many ways people get trapped in. Yeah.
I can just like feel my heart breaking like over and over again here. Like,
Yeah.
makes me sad.
Yeah.
Makes me sad. And it makes me so happy that there are people like you out there like doing the work and supporting this. Um, Take a moment. Feel like I'm gonna cry.
Yes, no, yeah, I know. It's heavy, but like I just feel like these things need to
It
be
is.
said.
They
So,
do. They do need to be said. And we need to talk about them. And like the worst is just like how much of that like I know specifically hits us like people who are chronically ill and neurodivergent. Like that's so like we're so vulnerable at so many points. Like if you have the wrong person in your life, like it's so easy because like I mean, I can even see for
yeah,
myself, like I don't have like a very large income. Like if I have family supports, but if I didn't have them, like, if I didn't have those few people, I'd be fairly on my own because like I am fairly isolated. I don't have a ton of friends because of my chronic illness. Like, if it wasn't the right person in my life, like absolutely vulnerable. And like I know that so
right,
many other people fall into that place and that, oh,
right. That's a whole nother level of vulnerability because if you're needing to be supported by somebody else to help with
mhm.
like day to day things, like at whatever level
Yeah.
that looks like, then that's even harder to say, I'm going to leave that person and not have those
Yeah.
supports. That's a harder
Yeah, to
decision to
give up
make.
anything like that, like, you're gonna maybe lose some of your independence or lose some of your health care. Oh my gosh, like the amount of people who are
Yeah.
probably stuck because of health care, like
Oh,
that's oh, just gross. I hate that so much. Okay, I'm going to change topic from the very
yes.
heavy to how is writing your book? Let's talk about the actual
Mm.
process of writing and getting that book out there because I know so many other people, and I know I have a couple other authors coming up on this podcast who are going to talk about it. But let's talk about that writing and publishing process. How was that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you asked because I also would like to start. I have a little like just an interest page on my website, but I want to help other people write their memoirs and their stories
Yes,
because
love
it's
that.
so hard and so healing.
I can
So
imagine.
it took 8 years to write the first part of it because I did a lot of I did so many edits on it. But the first draft took like I wouldn't like a year and a half to 2 years, like almost 2 years for the first draft because it's so emotionally heart-wrenching to write it out.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So yeah, so you want to like when writing, like find um basically create the most comfortable spot for you. Get your snacks, get your tea, like music or silence or whatever you want.
Yes.
It's like check in with your five senses and like make the most comfy spot for you so you are like feeling like you're taking care of yourself through doing it. And
Love
then
that.
afterward, talk to somebody. Go out to
Yes.
somewhere or talk to someone because you feel so emotionally raw after writing.
Oh, I
And so
can
I would do
imagine.
that for like maybe 40 minutes 5 times a week, and like that was all I could handle. And so that is perfectly fine because that is a way to
Mhm.
be taking care of yourself through the
Yeah.
process. And it's writing any part of the story that comes up in your mind. It doesn't have to be in order. You can just say, you know what, right now I want to talk about this scene. And you just write that scene. And
Yeah.
then in the writing process, what I would do was I would check in with my five senses internally in my memories and where was I? What was the air outside like? What did I smell? What did I hear? What was happening? And then the
Mhm.
memories would come flooding back to me, and I'd put it all on the page. And it was so hard to do it that way, but that was part of the healing process. Because what
Yeah.
happens scientifically when a memory is, or when an experience is like a little too traumatic for your brain to process all of it all at once, then it will stay in the limbic system. So it's going to stay in like the emotional part of the brain. And
Mhm.
then when you actually start to talk about the memory or write about the memory and really look at it and process exactly what was happening, you're moving it into the prefrontal cortex of the brain where you're in the executive functioning, where you can
Okay.
actually like look at it and examine it. And so when doing that process and examining all of these things, you're actually getting reducing your symptoms of PTSD,
Hmm.
because now the memories aren't a surprise. Now I remember, oh, that's what it was like when I went to Costco with him. Like, okay, or whatever it is, right? You have you've connected the dots more. You're finding those patterns for yourself in re-examining those memories. And without re-examining the memories, you're surprised by the things that remind you of it.
You get those, like, flashbacks and triggers, and they, like, shock you, right?
Right,
Like, that's what you
right.
mean? Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be like a huge flashback or a huge
Yeah.
trigger, right? It can be something where it's like, I just feel really off today and I don't know what it is. And it's like, oh, well, 3 years ago, XYZ happened, you know?
That, like,
Um,
deep down deja vu.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I can see how writing, your own memoir and stuff, I can see how that would be really helpful in processing that all and really taking that time to, like, bring it all back and, like, that does sound hard, though.
Yeah.
That sounds like
Yes.
something I wouldn't wanna do all by myself, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so
Yeah.
you
And
had
then
good support people to turn to afterwards?
oh, yeah. Yes,
Good.
so many
I'm so
beautiful people in
glad.
my life. Yes.
Good.
And then I did so many different edits. And so I looked at it from so many different angles. And so each
Oh my
time I was
gosh,
looking at it
yes.
from the angle of this or the angle of that. And then I'm looking at it with more of my prefrontal cortex. And so it's just like, okay, I
Yeah.
can see it more. And each time I've done that, I have experience less of the emotional pain with it. Now it's still there every time, no matter
Yeah.
what, but like it feels like a point 0.5 as opposed to a 9.
Yeah. I do feel every time, like, I tell my story about, like, going through the diagnosis process and everything hurts a little bit less because you process it a little bit more. And it becomes more
Hmm.
just like, this is fact, this is what happened. And now we're doing, like,
And now we're growing in
not to
this way.
discredit it or anything, like, it is what happened. This is what's developed me to this point, and now we're going this way, like,
Yes. And I want to highlight too the difference between just sharing this story. And I'm not saying this is what you're doing, but like trauma dumping, when a person just says the same story over and over and over again without
yeah.
reflecting, without processing,
Oh, yeah,
that
for
won't do
sure.
it, right?
Yeah.
Like there has to be the level of like mental processing that comes with that.
Okay, so you wrote the book, and that was a process in itself. Publishing.
Mhm.
How was that?
Oh, so the
How did you
first time I
publish?
wrote it, before I added the other, like the parts of me being a therapist and going back and explaining it, first time I tried to get an agent, a literary agent, and just did not hear back from many people. And, I learned so much about what that process is, and that literary agents get, so for traditional publishing, this is a process. Literary
Mhm.
agents get like 40 to 50 emails per day. They take on 10 to 20 clients per year like the odds to get an agent are
Yeah.
so, so low. And then once you get them, then you work with them and then they shop your book to a publisher. And then the publisher has to decide if they want to buy your book. And so there's still more agents than there are publishers, right? So it's so gate kept. And now they want people to have like 1 million followers and da da da.
Oh, yeah. It's become such a social media game.
Yeah, it's garbage. It's so gross. So yeah, I was like, I'm self-publishing. Screw it.
No,
Um,
absolutely. God, the social media game on all sides of it, like on the business side of it and the book side of it. It's the
I
worst.
know.
The worst these
I
days. I cannot deal
know.
with social media anymore. I
I do.
am all about
Yeah.
walking away from it.
I
Except for
like
Threads. I'm loving
Threads,
Threads. Yeah,
right?
no. This has been another one of those like constant conversations. Like we're all about Threads because it's just chaotic and we're all just like saying whatever we want there. But anything else, no, I can't. Like I post
Right.
occasionally to Instagram. I'm more into YouTube and then Threads.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like social media these days is just, it's no fun. It's not fun anymore. Remember when Instagram was fun? And we got to take cutesy little pictures and like show everybody what we're eating and like the pictures of our dog. I miss the pictures of the
Um,
dogs.
I have never liked Instagram.
No? I used to. I did. I used to love the like aesthetic of it all and the like sharing of our lives. And like, I mean, Instagram is like the place where I really found my diagnosis and my answers to a lot of
Oh,
things because I started connecting with other people that were sharing their stories. So I think that like
yeah.
I kind
Yeah.
of developed a weird personal connection with it a little bit. It's also the
Yeah,
place
yeah,
like
yeah.
I mean, I've grown my business there. I've connected with like so many people. I have friends there.
No,
Um
good.
but no,
That's
like
great.
what it's become, like the feed of it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's no fun
No.
anymore.
I I like TikTok more because it seems to feel more genuine. I think
Yeah.
my beef with Instagram is that it's too polished. Like the
Yeah.
amount of editing that must go into people's videos, I'm not gonna do that. Like,
No, and I just don't. And then like my videos don't get the huge reach, but I'm just like not upset about it anymore because it just is what it is. It is the
yeah,
social media of it all. So you went
yeah.
to self-publish.
Yes.
And where did you go through? Like Amazon or?
Yeah. Yeah, so I did it all myself through Amazon and through when you're like, where'd you go through? I was like, nowhere. Like I did it. Like I didn't hire anyone. Sorry, that was my facial reaction. Yes, Amazon and Drafted Digital. Drafted Digital is pretty cool. It can send your book out to Barnes and Noble,
Oh,
Kobo,
that's neat.
Apple, send it out to libraries, which
Oh.
Amazon Kindle, the KDP, like for if you put your book on Kindle Unlimited, you can't have your book anywhere else. But they just
Mm.
changed it. It can be in libraries.
Ah, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I have such mixed emotions. Like Amazon on one side of things, like they might be ruining the world. Also, freaking kings of accessibility over there for like people with
Yeah.
disabilities and needing to be able to get things. Plus, like, how many things can I not find here that I can find there? And they are really good for authors. I was
Yes.
asking at one point, like, okay, if you want to self-publish, but you don't want to go with Amazon, who would you go with? And most people came back to me with Amazon because like they make it easy. That's where all the people are. They all have the Kindles, the Kindle Unlimited and everything like that. And
Yeah.
most people said that that's where they're making the most of their money. So
Yep.
I
Yep.
guess
That's
go
what
Amazon. I don't want to support you, but
I know.
you're
I
winning.
know.
You're
I know.
winning.
I
Just
will
like
say I stopped my Amazon Prime and then I would like order stuff, but like, pay for shipping or like whatever. And then I was just like, oh, it's really helpful. And now that I'm publishing my book on here, if I support them, will they support me?
yeah, right? So I always say, like, I always talk nicely about Google because, I mean, they might take over, so
Yep, and
yeah,
I appreciate what they
be
do
nice
for
to them.
search engine optimization and
Bezos is kind of a tool, but
oh,
Amazon on
yeah.
a whole, I guess, is working out really well.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
his intention to be, like, really accessible and great for people with disabilities, but
But it really
sometimes
is.
things just work out really nicely, and that was kind of a benefit, yeah. So,
Mhm.
publishing and everything through Amazon, that went well, and it's out there now, published out last week. That's so
Yes,
exciting.
published last week. I'll show it one more time.
Oh, it's
Yes,
so pretty.
rose-colored
I love those
glasses.
colors. That's so
Oh,
fun.
thank you so much.
So
Yeah, I'm
pretty.
really
Did you
happy with
design
it.
it? Did you have it
Yep.
designed? You
So,
designed it
fun
yourself?
fact, this image right here was my wedding logo. So when I was getting married to him, that's what it was. And so then I
That's
designed
sick.
this second image to make that more clear.
That's neat. I like that.
Yeah.
That's
And then
cute.
my workbook is on Amazon as well. And this is going to take you through understanding things about power and control, some
Oh, I love
meditations,
that.
some charts, little images. This chart, this codependency and versus healthy relationships chart, which is like the part that happens at the beginning of the relationship, is free on my website. If you subscribe to
Oh,
my website,
nice.
you'll get a free chart. And I have a video course, so where I talk through all the things. So if you prefer to just
Smart.
watch and listen, and then, yeah, I would love to help other people write their memoirs too.
That's so amazing. I love that.
Yes.
Okay, you're
Yes.
gonna give me all those links, and I'm gonna drop them below, and I'm gonna make
Yes.
sure I go and find some of the links for where you would go if you are experiencing any kind of domestic violence and problems like that here in Canada as well. Thank you, Kate, so much for coming on this podcast and sharing your story. This has been beautiful, and I feel like I'm probably gonna go have myself a little cry now. And then I'm going to rethink about like writing my own things. So you have both made me
Oh,
sad and inspired me today. And so I hope everybody else has found some kind of benefit in this as well. And and
oh,
nobody else is
oh.
crying, but it's the reality of things, I guess, and I really wish it wasn't. And hopefully, if there's more people like us out there educating and talking about it and supporting each other and being here for each other, then it
Yeah,
won't be as much of a thing.
and crying is a perfectly normal reaction to all of
100%.
this, and I'm glad you're sharing your emotions. I'm just not because I've been talking about this for 10 years.
You've
So,
processed this. Yeah, this is
yes.
you've processed. You're good. I need to now do some processing of my own, and I'm gonna go
Hmm.
watch cartoons.
Okay, and then read my book.
And I
Reading my
will read
book
your
will help you
book. Yes,
process.
absolutely. And so, also I want to say that you can find Kate on the Chronically Cozy Business Directory, which will also be linked below. Thank you so much for coming today. It was so great talking to you. And if
Oh.
anybody else wants to come and share their stories, please leave us a comment, find all the links, and we'll see you next time. Bye.